Tom Thumb. Long ago, in the merry days of good King Arthur, there lived a farmer and his wife. They were very poor, but would have been content and happy if only they had a child. One day, having heard of Magician Merlin's fame, the wife persuaded her husband to go tell him of their trouble. Magician Merlin lived at King Arthur's court, and the farmer went to him with tears in his eyes and said, "Give us a child, Magician Merlin. We'll be quite content, even if it's no bigger than my thumb." The countryman was astonished to find when he reached home his wife had a son who was no bigger than his father's thumb. The parents were now very happy, and the christening of the little fellow took place with great ceremony. The Fairy Queen, attended by all her company of elves, was present at the feast. She kissed the little child and gave him the name Tom Thumb. She told the fairies to fetch the tailors of her court who dressed her little godson up. His hat was made of a beautiful oak leaf, his shirt of a fine spider's web, and his stockings were made with the rind of a delicate green apple. When he was thus dressed, the Fairy Queen kissed him once more, and wishing him all good luck, flew off with the fairies. As Tom grew older, he became very amusing and full of tricks, and his mother was afraid to let him out of her sight. One day, while she was making a pudding, Tom stood on the edge of the bowl with a lighted candle in his hand to see that the pudding was made properly. Unfortunately, however, when her back was turned, Tom fell into the bowl, and his mother, not missing him, stirred him up into the pudding and put it into the pot. The batter filled Tom's mouth and prevented him from calling out, but as soon as he felt the hot water, he kicked and struggled so much that the pudding jumped about in the pot. His mother, thinking the pudding was bewitched, was nearly frightened out of her wits. She ran with it out her door and gave it to a beggar who was passing by. He was very thankful for it and looked forward to having a better dinner than he had enjoyed for many days. But his pleasure did not last long, as he happened to sneeze very hard, and Tom, who had been quiet inside the pudding for quite some time, called out at the top of his little voice, "Hello, Pickens!" This so terrified the beggar that he flung away the pudding and ran off as fast as he could. The pudding was all broken to pieces by the fall, and Tom crept out, covered with batter, and ran home to his mother. His mother had been looking for him everywhere, and was delighted to see him. She gave him a bath in a cup, which soon washed off all the pudding, and he was happy once more. A few days later, Tom accompanied his mother when she went into the field to milk the cows. His mother, fearing that he might be blown away by the wind, tied him to a grass blade with a little piece of thread. While she was milking, a cow came by and bit off the grass and swallowed up Tom. Poor Tom did not like her big teeth and called out, "Mother! Mother!"
"But where are you, Tommy? My dear Tommy!"
cried out his mother, wringing her hands. "Here, Mother!" he shouted. "Inside the red cow's mouth!" And saying that, he began to kick and scratch till the poor cow was nearly mad and tumbled him out of her mouth. His mother rushed to him and caught him in her arms and carried him home safely. Some days after this, his father took him into the fields a plowing, but little Tom was soon lost in a furrow. An eagle saw him, picked him up, and flew with him to the top of a hill where stood a giant's castle. The giant put him at once into his mouth, intending to swallow him up, but Tom made such a great disturbance when he got inside that the monster soon was glad to get rid of him, and threw him far away into the sea. He had scarcely touched the water when he was swallowed by a large fish, which was shortly afterwards captured and brought to King Arthur as a present by the fisherman. When the fish was opened, everyone was astonished at finding Tom inside. He was carried to the king, who made him his court dwarf. The queen was delighted with the little boy, and made him dance a tap on her left hand. He danced so well that King Arthur gave him a ring which he wore around his waist like a belt. Tom soon began to long to see his parents again, and begged the king to allow him to go home. This was readily permitted, and the king told him that he might take with him as much money as he could carry. So away went Tom, with 3 quarters on his back. He had to rest more than 100 times on the way, and reached his father's house after 2 days. His mother saw him coming and ran out to meet him, and there was a great rejoicing at his arrival. He spent 3 happy days at home, and then went to the king's court once more. Shortly after his return, one day he displeased the king. Fearing the royal anger, he crept into an empty flower pot, where he lay for a long time. At last he ventured to peep out, and seeing a large butterfly on the ground close by, he stole out of his hiding place, jumped on its back, and was carried up into the air. The king and nobles all strove to catch him, but at last Tom fell from his seat into a watering can. Luckily, the gardener's daughter saw him and pulled him out. The king was so pleased to have him safe once more that he forgot to scold him. Tom lived many years at court, one of the best beloved of King Arthur's knights. The end.